Today's topic, this is not going to be very deep, but just to give you just a shallow taste of the topic about mainstream school, when you mainstream students who are deaf and hard of hearing into hearing majority schools, what happens? This topic is hot. Sensitive. So I'm just going to give you just some what's happening, why is this a thing, why is this important. I'm not an expert on this. I have my experience, others have theirs, some share it on YouTube, so if you're curious, I encourage you to go and search it, go and Google it. And then you can see and just listen to their stories and their experiences and understand that they're different experiences. Why? Just because of different exposures and family and socioeconomic status and okay. So my friend gave me a perfect starting point. She told me there are like 4 types. Okay, it's a good place to start. There's more than 4, but I'm just gonna start there. 4 is a good number. So there's like 4 types of school experiences that deaf and hard of hearing people have. First, deaf institution, the deaf schools. So we have the deaf institutions. Second, we have contained classrooms. So it's like self-contained. Self-contained classrooms. And then we have resource rooms. Sign up. And you have mainstream. So then we have others like bicultural, which I'll explain a bit. So we start with the first one, deaf institution. This is where you have deaf and hard of hearing students, you have deaf and hard of hearing teachers, and you just deep dive into deaf and hard of hearing culture, and you learn both with sign and written sign and English or just the other dominant language in that society. Does it make sense? So it's very, very connected to deaf and hard of hearing community and culture and history and language, and it's a pretty good environment to grow up and develop proficiency in language, and just also to have like role models who are older, they're adults, deaf and hard of hearing, and it's a good place to connect with like the community. So there's that. And the second one I said was self-contained. So this one, it's in the community, could be attached to a hearing school, but what happens, deaf and hard of hearing students will have most of their time in the day inside a self-contained classroom. And in there you have like the special educations teacher, might have a hearing teacher, but the purpose of that room is to be a place of learning and like sensitivity to the students' needs. So they have like specialists, whether it's speech or the interpreters or just other specialists needed to cater to the students' needs and to support them so that they can learn at their pace. So that's self-contained, and most of the time is there. You learn most of the day in there. then some of the day, if any, will be with the other so-called typical students who don't have the same disability. Then resource rooms are slightly different. It's very close to the self-contained. It's pretty much almost similar services, if not the exact same thing, but the difference is with the resource room, don't have to be in there the whole day. It depends on your needs. So like for my friends and I, okay, I'll just talk about myself only. It's appropriate. So like for me, I had a resource room, but only part of the week, like 1 or 2 days. At the start of the day would be there, at the end of the day would be there. Some days we would have one class period like on the schedule. I'll be in that room with my other friends who are also deaf and hard of hearing, and we would do our classwork there, or our homework, or maybe they would help us with something that we're really struggling with in class, like, I don't know, math. So it's like the other class where we can get tips to learn, and we're still learning, but it's also a place where we could learn science, just connect to that part of our identity that's connected to a disability, just to learn more about ourselves and others who are similar to us. And our special education's teacher was trained to support us, so that was really, really helpful. She was very familiar with sign language, and it gave a place of like normalcy to us. Am I making sense? You know, you don't really stand out that much. So that was a blessing that there were others like me. Some students, and I'll explain this more, when they're mainstreaming alone, it can be really hard to feel okay when you're not like other people, especially when you're young. You don't want to stand out most of the times, many times, often. So then the other one we have is mainstream. So mainstream is where you go to school with hearing people, and same class, same environment, not always same access experience, but yeah. So for deaf institution, there's day schools, there's residency. It's kind of like boarding. Then I talked about the bicultural. This is where you have both the deaf and hard of hearing teacher and interpreter and maybe other special teachers in the same room as the hearing teacher. So all the students hearing and deaf and hard of hearing would benefit from that, because they learn about deaf and hard of hearing culture and perspectives on the topic in class. At the same time, deaf and hard of hearing students still have access to communicate and interact with hearing students. And that sounds very rich. Whoa. You can just imagine that experience young, especially for hearing students. They grow up and they see deaf and hard of hearing people, others with disabilities as a normal thing. Like they already had exposure to it. So it's like, it's not going to be awkward when they grow up. I wish that was like just norm when you're young. Like throughout all education systems. Then you'd also have this accessibility for people, students with disabilities, but at the same time, the hearing majority would be like used to it. So you would expect accessibility in society for them. Am I making sense? Like, yeah. You'd be surprised just how not present accessibility is in schools, even interpreters to begin with. So mainstreaming or deaf institution, that depends on where you live, how the expense, what the kid or the student wants, and how comfortable they feel going to a deaf institution or more of a mainstream type thing. And it's good to open the options, especially like later when they're older, because some people, they wanted a trip that they couldn't find, then they consider, oh, deaf institution is an option. I didn't know. Then I've heard someone's story, they said, so I went for, I think it was like the end of their high school, and they said, or maybe it was college, I'm not sure, but she really, really, really appreciates that experience, why she got to improve her science, and just really, really felt included. Same education, but more enriching. Didn't really have to worry that much about barriers. So I think maybe in Kenya the biggest problem or concern might be cost, because I don't know if there are any private deaf institutions. Just how expensive are they? And then for the public institutions, how well supported are they by the government? Because if they're not, maybe your child might not get the same type of quality education as they're hearing. I've not read much about this, but this was a concern my mom had. So she wanted me to stay mainstream. And I'm fortunate I had a resource room that really helped. So I had some access to the idea of my deaf identity. I feel like it really developed only recently. So I'm more like self-aware. So there are different types of experiences deaf and hard people have, like educationally speaking. Not all the same. It's not all are gonna learn the same science, so on and so forth. So some might not have a lot of interaction with hearing from young. So that makes sense why many deaf and hard people might not have a lot of hearing connections. It makes sense. Just you connect with people who can understand you, who you interact with often. Yeah, so it's hard to say one is better, whether it's deaf institution or mainstreaming. It really depends on the person's needs and the options you have, family and you as an individual.